President Park Geun-hye issues a public apology for her close ties to a former assistant who's been at the center of a slew of corruption scandals. Reacting to the president's surprise announcement, Korea's political parties, including the ruling party, call for a comprehensive probe into the matter. Plus, the Korean economy expands in the 0% range for the fourth consecutive quarter, raising pressure on the government to come up with more fiscal stimulus. These and more coming right up. Hello, it's Wednesday, October 26th here in Seoul. Welcome to our newscast. I'm Hwang Ji-hye. Our top story this morning, President Park Geun-hye has issued a public apology for passing classified materials to a close former aide, Choi Soon-sil. Making matters worse, she allegedly allowed Choi to make changes to the documents, which include campaign speeches. Our Song Ji-sun starts us off.
The president began her statement by expressing her sincerest apologies to the people, saying that it's common for politicians to ask for a variety of opinions during election campaigns. And it was the same in her case regarding allegations that Choi Soon-sil was involved in editing her speeches.
지난 대선 때 주로 연설이나 홍보 등의 분야에서 저의 선거 운동이 국민들에게 어떻게 전달되는지에 대해 개인적인 의견이나 소감을 전달해주는 역할을 하였습니다.
The president says she continued to seek Choi's help even after her inauguration, but added that she stopped seeking Choi's advice after her secretaries were installed at the top office.
저로서는 좀 더 꼼꼼하게 챙겨보고자 하는 순수한 마음으로 한 일인데 이유 여하를 막론하고 국민 여러분께 심려를 끼치고 놀라고 마음 아프게 해드린 점에 대해 송구스럽게 생각합니다. 국민 여러분께 깊이 사과드립니다.
After bowing to the camera, she left without taking questions from the press. The case has been a source of controversy in recent days and revolves around allegations that Choi used her ties to the president to solicit donations from conglomerates for two government-linked foundations in a very short period of time. As for how the classified documents were leaked and ended up in Choi's hands, the presidential office said that it's looking into the case and that the president wanted to clear up suspicions and communicate with the public regarding their disappointment and doubts. Song Ji-sun, Arirang News.
And all three main political parties have called for a thorough investigation into the breach related to the presidential documents. The main opposition party went a step further, demanding a complete shakeup of President Park's cabinet. Park Ji-won reports.
The Saenuri party expressed deep regret over the incident and, as a ruling party, apologized. It said there needs to be follow-up measures, but what those are will be determined after consulting with Saenuri lawmakers.
Rigorous fact-finding should be done on how it is that so many documents were sent to Choi. A square and swift investigation is necessary to get to the bottom of the case.
The main opposition Democratic Party of Korea said the president's apology was not nearly enough. It said what the public wants to know about and see is the president's determination to get to the bottom of the matter, stop it from happening again, and punish those responsible, not just an apology with excuses.
It's shocking to see the president's complacent attitude to the leak of the classified information. A variety of state documents were delivered to a civilian with no position. Every member of the presidential secretariat should be held responsible for not being able to prevent it.
The minor opposition People's Party agreed the president's apology was not enough and said she didn't reveal anything new about her ties to Choi Soon-sil. It warned that if the president doesn't come up with some answers, she won't be able to mitigate the public's anger.
The president's apology was not nearly enough to mitigate the public's anger.
And the leader of the Minor Justice Party, Shim Sang-jung, also strongly urged the presidential office to squarely investigate the whole series of allegations and punish those responsible, and demanded all the presidential secretaries and the entire cabinet resign over the matter. Park Ji-won, Arirang News.
The Korean economy extended its sluggish 0% range growth into a fourth straight quarter in the July to September period. With that, and concerns over an even poorer pace of growth in the last quarter, partly due to Samsung's global Galaxy Note 7 recall, calls are growing for the government to introduce more aggressive stimulus. But do we have room for that? Shin Se-min tells us more.
A call for more government spending. Korea's current economic figures are calling into question whether the government's efforts to boost local spending are enough. Korea's central bank has lowered its growth outlook for next year to 2.8%, and the country's all-time low benchmark interest rate of 1.25% has households taking on more debt that has reached over $1.1 trillion as of the end of June. That's why experts are pointing at the government's fiscal measures, calling on it to take bolder action.
Harping on that actually keeps the government from doing expansionary fiscal policy because they're afraid that it will drive up the deficit, drive up the debt. And I think the situation in the macroeconomic Korea right now forces us to have an expansionary fiscal policy. But I think a lot of people in the government, as well as some people in research area, think that the government cannot afford it because we'll have worse credit ratings in the future. And I think this is sort of keeping us back. So I think we should be more adventurous.
A similar stance is echoed by the Secretary General of the OECD, Angel Gurria, who told Seoul-based Yonhap News that the country has the leeway for more government spending to keep it from falling into a low-growth trap. He said fiscal stimulus should focus on measures that would support Korea's growth potential, adding that fiscally speaking, Seoul still has some room to maneuver next year. Currently, Korea's debt-to-GDP ratio for this year is at around 40%, significantly lower than the OECD average, which last year stood at over 115%. And yet, the government's put a leash on spending for the country's fiscal soundness. It plans to submit a new state budget management bill to the parliament in hopes of keeping the ratio of government debt to GDP at 45% or less. Shin Se-min, Arirang News.
Lotte Group Chair Shin Dong-bin has issued a public apology after the CEO of Korea's fifth largest conglomerate and several of his family members were indicted for financial irregularities. Shin has laid out investment plans that will boost job creation in the country. Kwon Jang-ho has the details.
Appearing alongside 23 CEOs of Lotte Group affiliates, Shin Dong-bin gave a long bow and apologized to the Korean public.
I apologize for the worries that have been caused by the recent prosecutorial investigation amid the ongoing power struggle at the company over the last year. I feel we have not met the standards expected by the people and society.
With the apology, Shin announced a series of reforms to the group's corporate structure. He pledged to invest some $35 billion over the next 5 years in the restructuring effort and hire 70,000 new staff. He also announced plans to establish a compliance committee, which will bring in outside experts to help the group be more socially responsible. Shin also said the company will push for Hotel Lotte to be listed as soon as possible. This statement comes after a similar apology and reform announcements were made just 14 months ago when the power struggle with Shin's brother Dong-ju for the country's fifth largest conglomerate was aired in public, and things have only escalated since. Last week, after a 4-month investigation by Seoul prosecutors, Shin and several of his family members, along with 14 sitting and former Lotte executives, were charged with embezzlement and tax evasion. Those indicted include Shin's estranged brother Dong-ju and his father and company founder Shin Gyuk-ho. Prosecutors said investigations found evidence of financial irregularities amounting to $330 million. Seoul courts rejected requests to detain Shin and the others involved in the case, so until the trial starts, all eyes will be on whether Lotte will be able to recover. Kwon Jang-ho, Arirang News.
A new report by the World Bank has named South Korea the fifth easiest country in the world to do business. The 2017 edition of the Doing Business report, released Wednesday, shows South Korea backtracked one notch from a year ago among the 190 countries surveyed. Korea scored a total of some 84 points this year, edging up from last year's score of 83.8. South Korea received high scores for electricity supply, legal settlement, and an easy administrative system for business newcomers. New Zealand topped the list, trading places with Singapore that came first last year. The top two were followed by Denmark and Hong Kong. A federal judge in the United States has approved Volkswagen's $14.7 billion settlement for its emissions cheating scandal. The company will start buying back vehicles from mid-November. Owners can decide whether to sell them back or have them fixed before September 1st, 2018. Under the settlement, owners of the polluting diesel cars could each receive between roughly $5,000 to $10,000 in compensation. The settlement, however, does not suggest a solution for the owners of 85,000 3-liter diesel vehicles. While Volkswagen is trying to move past the scandal, some owners say may decline the offer and file their own lawsuits against the automaker. The Korean unit of BMW is recalling almost 24 of its models for defects in their emissions reduction system. Our Hwang Ho-jun has the details.
11 months after the Volkswagen emissions scandal, another German automaker is facing a recall. This time, it's BMW whose crisis management skills are being put to the test. The Ministry of Environment confirmed on Tuesday the recall of 2 BMW gasoline models and 21 diesel models for defects in the devices that control emissions. The German automaker voluntarily started a recall on the 12th of this month. The recall affects more than 11,500 vehicles, including the BMW 520d model, which has been known for its relatively high fuel efficiency. According to the Korea Automobile Importers and Distributors Association, some 4,400 units of the 520d have been sold as of September, making it this year's best-selling imported car. Because many of them were sold in the affluent parts of southern Seoul, it's been dubbed the Gangnam-style car. The carmaker has been contacting its customers individually to notify them of the recall decision. BMW calls its cars the ultimate driving machines, and they've been seen as a symbol of status and prestige in Korea. However, the recent mass recall has likely dented the company's brand image. Owners of the recalled models can get the problem fixed for free at official BMW Korea service centers. The recalls aren't limited to BMW, though. The Environment Ministry's ordered Kia Motors to halt sales and recall its Mojave SUV for defective onboard diagnostics equipment. The ministry has also prohibited Ford from selling its Focus 1.5 as it failed to meet the country's emission standards. The government is vowing to continue its regular investigation on manufactured cars to reinforce the emission standard. Hwang Ho-jun, Arirang News.
The top intelligence official in the United States has written off the chance of North Korea abandoning its nuclear weapons, describing denuclearization as, quote, a lost cause. Speaking at the Council on Foreign Relations in New York on Tuesday, U.S. Director of National Intelligence James Clapper said the best policy is to place restrictions on the regime's nuclear capabilities. Clapper's remarks do not align with the Obama administration's North Korea policy of strategic patience aimed at eventually forcing Pyongyang give up its nuclear weapons program. Responding to Clapper's comments, the State Department insisted U.S. policy on denuclearizing the Korean peninsula is firm. In related news, a State Department official said on Tuesday that the United States is working with other countries to pass a new motion at UN to condemn North Korea for its human rights abuses. Bringing North Korean goods into South Korea is highly illegal. It has been that way since 2010, and inspections to weed out smuggling have been tightened since the regime's 4th nuclear test early this year. But are vendors sticking to the letter of the law? Our Connie Kim went out to find out.
Located in the middle of the South Korean capital, Seoul is the largest medicinal herb market in the south, and one of the country's largest traditional markets. This is also the venue where smuggled North Korean goods, especially produce, have actively been traded, which is the main reason 9 government agencies gathered on Tuesday to crack down on this illegal activity.
제품 판매가 금지되어 있습니다. 혹시 알고 계시나요? 예. 예. 그래서 지금 그런 거를 판매하거나 그러면은 또 위법한 사항이기 때문에 좀 이렇게 처벌받을 수도 있고요.
Although the ban on selling and buying North Korean products has been in effect since 2010 when the regime attacked the South Korean warship Cheonan with a torpedo, inspections and crackdowns intensified in January this year when Pyongyang conducted its 4th nuclear test. North Korean agricultural goods and fisheries were popular items before the government's ban because they were cheaper and grown in a clean environment.
When they were first allowed to be sold in South Korea, we sold a tremendous amount. Our customers loved them because they were cheap and of good quality.
In 2015, officials reported that some $3 million worth of North Korean goods were found being traded nationwide. But during the first 8 months of this year, that number decreased to $264,000. Not a single case of local vendors selling North Korean goods was reported this time, but loopholes still exist.
The general public is not aware of the policies, so consumers keep on asking for North Korean goods.
The government's investigations into smuggled North Korean goods have led to an increase in awareness among local vendors, but it's hard to catch everything as it's difficult to tell where the products are actually from, and there is still demand for North Korean goods among customers in the South. Connie Kim, Arirang News.
And that does it for now. Thanks for watching. I'm Hwang Ji-hye, and I'll be back in less than 2 hours for more news updates, so do stay tuned, and goodbye for now.